What's going on, y'all? I hope everyone's having a good week so far. So, I've been playing Creed Rise to Glory on the PSVR2 since release, which was on the 5th, and just finally popped the Platinum Trophy yesterday, meaning that for exactly 9 days straight, my headset has been covered in sweat while I shadow box in boxer briefs in the living room.
Oh shit, what is that?
And I can say that without a doubt that Creed is an excellent addition to any VR library. But is it worth the $35 price tag? Let's find out in today's review. As always, if you like what you see, go ahead and punch that subscribe button. And if you're feeling extra feisty, go ahead and ring that bell notification. Let's get to it. Now, first off, I've never played the previous iterations of the Creed boxing games. In fact, the PSVR2 took my VR virginity, so I've never played any boxing game in the virtual reality space before this period. So this will all be from the perspective of someone new to the franchise as a whole. The Creed game is obviously based off of the movie of the same name, and while there are 2 story modes here in the game, it's hard to call it much of a story. Which is great, in my opinion. It gives you enough incentive to bust your opponent's heads without forcing you to sit through a ton of dialogue. Though, I do wish there were more epic moments like the final fight in the first story mode. It was all done well enough to deserve at least a single playthrough. Each story mode consists of roughly 6 to 10 fights if I had to guess, and between each of these bouts you'll do a training montage, which honestly I fucking loved. Because one, they always were an excellent warm-up before the fight, and they also were a cool way to determine how much stamina you had for each fight. And I know that there's been a lot of complaints about there being a stamina meter in the game in the first place, but it never felt too overboard for me, maybe because I was already gassed anyways and it helped me manage my real life stamina, or I'm just used to flat screen boxing games that all had a stamina meter in it anyways, but I do understand the gripes when it comes to online play, which we'll get into in a little bit. After beating the roughly 2-hour story, there still is some meat to these bones, luckily. When going to free play, there's a ton of single player options, from competing in leaderboards on mini games like punching a training dummy. There's calorie sparring that allows you to set a calorie limit and fight until you reach it. There's endurance fights, and of course you can freely fight the large roster of combatants with 3 different difficulty sliders. And then of course there's PvP. Now this is, in my experience, unfortunately the biggest letdown of the package. Obviously results may vary though. When all goes right, it's an extremely fun way to compete against friends and randoms. And not to mention, it's always fucking hilarious. The issue is though, even with crossplay enabled, I almost never find a match. And when I do, well, it's a 50-50 shot that it's not laggy as fuck. Alternatively though, if you do have a friend who also has the game, it is super fun to play together and it is an extremely smooth experience, at least in mine. Sit your ass down, that's what you do, bitch. But I will say that the implementation of character stamina in PvP play kinda does not make sense. It more serves to hinder the gameplay instead of being an all-out brawl fest online, and I think it would be much better if we at least had a choice to turn it off. Performance for the most part was excellent. I did have a few times throughout though where the game would completely freeze my PlayStation and I had to do a soft reset. There are 2 modes of locomotion, one where you can move your arms to walk, and of course the joysticks. I very much preferred the second options throughout my playthrough. All in all, I truly enjoyed what Creed had to offer on PSVR2. If nothing, I was really grateful for the excellent workout, and though there were a few things that held it back, like I mentioned, there's really not any competition in the field right now, seeing as this is the only boxing game currently available on the platform. I do wish that the PvP would have been a little bit more of a relevant feature though, as it did take away a lot of the replayability for me. I also wish there would have been a little bit more use of the haptic feedback, and if I'm being completely honest, I would have much preferred a boxing title not under the Creed name. But for what it's worth, I do think that it is worth the price of admission, and I'm looking forward to anything that Survios does in the future. It's an 8 out of 10, take it or leave it. Thanks for watching.